Okay, so let's take a look at this worksheet. On this worksheet, for the most part, most of these questions involve using our D divided by H times Q formula. If you remember that from medical math, that was taking an ordered dosage and then taking how that dosage is packaged, that's where H and Q come from, and being able to just set it up into a formula to see then what would we give this patient. As far as what would we give this patient, all of these questions are asking what is the pump setting. What it's asking for is milliliters per hour. That's what the pump setting is we need to calculate the rate that we would give this IV at so many milliliters per hour. So let's take a look at the first one. So the first one says we need to give insulin 15 units per hour, and it looks like insulin comes in a supply of 125 units in 250 milliliters. So I'm just going to go at the second one. Actually, it looks like the second one would be set up the same way. So instead of doing this entire worksheet for you, you're going to do the exact same thing to number 2. Now in number 3, it looks like, let's see, 2 grams in 500 milliliters of D5W, which is just 5% dextrose water, at a rate of 2 milligrams per minute, and it comes as 2 grams in 500 milliliters. Okay, so the weird part about this one is it has sort of given us a pump setting, that it's telling us how much medication is being infused over a certain amount of time. So we're actually going to use that, because what it did at the beginning is it told us already how it's diluted, how the medication has been ordered, and that's how it comes. So it's just telling us, that's what we've ordered. But right now it's telling us, how much is being infused per minute. And I want to know, again, what that is in milliliters per hour. So a way to think about all at that next problem. Actually, the next problem you would start the exact same way. This one already gives you milligrams per hour, so you would simply you don't have to think about minutes or anything. It's milligrams per hour, and it comes as milligrams per milliliter, so there's your D, H, and Q. Again, just like in the first 2 problems, and then the one we just did there, again, because it was 100, we got it to 120 milligrams per hour, we just start there and then put it into our D over H times Q formula. And then very similar, number 5, we're looking at 4 milligrams per minute. So if they're getting 4 milligrams every minute, they're going to do that 60 times in an hour. So we know 4 times 60 is 240. So therefore they're getting 240 milligrams per hour. So again, we just go ahead and plug that into our D over H times Q formula. There's our H and our Q. Again, don't forget, we need to convert that grams to milligrams. 2 grams is the same thing as 2,000 milligrams times 500. And it looks like we're going to get 240 divided by 2,000. Multiplying that by 500, we get 60. So on that one, it is 60 milliliters per hour. Let's see. So the next one, we don't have to do as much, because we've got an order dose of 50 milligrams in 500 milliliters over 6 hours. Well, it's supplied that way. The order dose and the supply dose are the same, 50 milligrams in 500 milliliters. So we know that they need just that. They need that 500 milliliters. That's how it comes. That's what's been ordered. They need the 500 milliliters of liquid. But how do we get it to milliliters per hour? Well, remember, again, if we know that this patient needs 500 milliliters and they need it over 6 hours, we can just take that and divide those two, and that would give us milliliters per hour. 500 milliliters over 6 hours is 83.3 milliliters each hour, just every single hour. So that would be 83.3. All we had to do was just divide those two. Again, because the order dose is the same as how it's supplied. Really, we probably don't even have to think about that supply at all, because we know that the doctor said that they need 500 milliliters over 6 hours. So if they just give us the order dose and the time, or the ordered amount of fluid and the time, we simply just have to divide the two. And it looks like number 7 is the same as number 5. So again, I don't want to work out the whole worksheet for you. I want you to be able to do these on your own, but if you want me to check your answers, I'd be glad to. But again, you just set it up the same way. There's 2 milligrams per minute, which again, there's 60 minutes in an hour, so don't forget that. And then we just plug that into our D over H times Q formula. So again, that's the way to think about that, is page here and set this up. So what that would look like, the order dose is 15 units per hour. And again, I'm trying to get it to milliliters per hour. Right now, since it's already, per hour, we really don't have to think about that very much. We're not going to have to do anything to it because it's already in the amount of time that I need it to be given. It's just right now, it's so much dosage given per hour, and I need it to be in milliliters per hour. So setting that up using our D over H times Q formula, we would divide by 125 units, and then our quantity was 250 milliliters. So there's our H and our Q. Remember, H and Q is always how that comes. So that's our supply. Because again, what's going to happen in this question is units and units being the same, they cancel each other out, meaning at the end of this calculation, I'll be left with milliliters and hours. And that's exactly what I'm looking for, is milliliters per hour. So I go ahead and divide this out, and we're going to take 15 divided by 125. I'm going to take that answer, which is 0.12, and multiply that by 250, and that gives me 30. So the answer to this would be 30 milliliters per hour. Okay, let's take that's number one. Let me add another. Let's go take. Anytime you're given some type of dosage, remember when you need it to be then in milliliters. So whether you're given, if you're ordered milligrams, grams, micrograms, units, anytime you're trying to convert, these are all ways that we measure dosages, like solid weights of something. Remember, grams are used to measure weight, units, and even milliequivalents are the same, if you ever see that. And that's not as common, but if you ever see milliequivalents, it's just an ordered dose. So these are all solids, and we're trying to convert this to milliliters, which liters is a way of measuring a liquid. Anytime you're trying to convert any of these into liquid form, we're going to have to be given a supply, meaning how it comes. So that's where we bring in the D over H times Q formula. And again, when we're trying to get it into milliliters per hour, most of these, if it's told to just give that per hour, we don't have to think anything of that. We don't have to do anything to that time. But in some of those problems, we were given per minute. So we had to, again, think, well, how do I get from minutes to hours? And we know that there's 60 minutes in every hour, so that involved multiplying by 60. So that's what's happening in all of those types of questions, is just making sure you're paying attention to how that is being ordered and then how to get it into this pump setting. All right, I hope that helps. If you have any questions at all, just let me know. A way to think about these questions is, we're trying to get to milliliters per hour. Right now, we're at milligrams per minute. So again, what we have to do is think about, in this case, we need it again to be an hour, so there's something we're going to have to do here. And then anytime you're taking it from some type of ordered dose and you're trying to get it into liquid form, that's using that D over H times Q formula. So we're going to do the same thing here, but we're starting off a little bit different in that, we know that it's 2 milligrams per minute. Well, let's think about that. If a patient is getting 2 milligrams every single minute, we know that that's going to happen how many times in an hour? Well, 60, right? Because there are 60 minutes in an hour. So if they're getting 2 milligrams this minute, then the next minute, then the next minute, then the next minute, that's going to happen 60 times in an hour. So if we multiply that by 60, that will tell us that this patient is receiving 120 milligrams every hour. So again, just like we've started the previous couple problems, again, we have it in milligrams per hour. I need it to be milliliters per hour. So that's where, again, our D over H times Q formula is going to come in. So we're going to take that 120 milligrams, and then we're going to use our H and our Q, which is, again, in that problem is 2 grams in 500 milliliters, but we know 2 grams is the same thing as 2,000 milligrams in 500 milliliters. Don't forget you want your D and your H to always be the same unit so that, again, they'll cancel out. So that will leave us with our milliliters. So when we take 120 divided by 2,000, whoops, I'm not calculating anything right now. 120 divided by 2,000, and then multiply that by 500, we get 30. So we actually get 30 milliliters per hour on this one too. Okay.